Well, I think it's, you have incumbents, the banks, commercial banks, and you have the disruptors. And clearly the disruptors are having an impact on the incumbents. We just heard a very large systemic bank here saying that they're launching their digital coin, currently piloted in a way within the institutional clients, but to be scaled beyond that. We heard from the European Central Bank that they have launched in November something that is called TIPS, that enables all the banks in the Eurozone to actually transfer instantly at virtually no cost money between them. So I think the role of the disruptors and anything that is using distributed ledger technology, whether you call it crypto assets, currencies, or whatever, and it's far from the bitcoins that we used to talk about a year ago, that is clearly shaking the system.
All right, everybody. Welcome back for another one. And I wanted to start this video off with that clip from Christine Lagarde, basically explaining how the banking and financial system is being disrupted, right? But the disruptors are far from the bitcoins, right? What does she mean by that? That there's other players out there that are disrupting the fintech system, the financial system as a whole, but that it's not Bitcoin, right? You need to keep your eyes open for stuff like this as it continues to come to the surface, right? And this entire video is mostly going to be about make sure that we're paying attention to everything from all perspectives, right? Don't be one-sided, don't be biased. Make sure to zone in on your investments, right? So, the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde, who used to work for the IMF as well, International Monetary Fund, says Bitcoin has facilitated funny business and needs to be regulated at the international level. Lagarde said the highly speculative asset has led to some reprehensible activity, including money laundering, and any loopholes need to be closed. There has to be regulation. This has to be applied and agreed upon at a global level, because if there is an escape, that escape will be used, right? So what is she actually talking about? She's probably talking about the Tether drama, right? They just showed you yesterday. When Tether goes down, the price of Bitcoin goes down. When the Tether market cap goes up, the price of Bitcoin goes ballistic, right? It's pretty correlated, almost identical, right? And what Tether does, Bitcoin does. So, what else did she say? She added, there will be a digital euro, hopefully in no more than 5 years. Right? So they keep acting like they're just thinking about it. Maybe we'll build a new financial system. We're definitely considering a digital euro. All right, well, what have I shown you just recently? Euro stablecoin launched on Stellar by one of Europe's oldest banks. The EURB is fully regulated and backed 100% by euros, allowing banks and institutional investors to use the crypto without exposure to counterparty risk. So, will the euro stablecoin come out in 1 to 5 years, or is it already on Stellar? Probably up for you to decide, but I think it's already on Stellar. They're not going to come out and tell us their plan. They're just going to roll it out and keep fronting and disguising it. Personal opinion, right? Ukraine chooses Stellar Foundation to develop its CBDC, regulatory infrastructure for stablecoins. When will USDC be available on Stellar? USDC is expected to be live and available on Stellar by February of 2021. All right, so the Euro, the Ukraine CBDC, USDC, they're all moving to Stellar, right? This year, just because. It's no coincidence, right? Well, or is it maybe that Stellar and also Ripple are these disruptors that are far from the Bitcoins that Christine Lagarde's talking about, right? Why do I think that? Well, because of pictures like this, right? And I know you guys have probably seen this stuff over and over. You've seen that clip of her over and over, but sometimes you need to reiterate, right? Because it seems like people fall off the wagon when the price goes down. And Now we need to go back and revisit why we were bullish 2 seconds ago, right? And it's because the director of monetary markets of the IMF, the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, they're all sitting here with Brad Garlinghouse and Christine Lagarde right there in front. You know, the disruptors that are far from the Bitcoins are sitting here presenting to Christine Lagarde, right? Another picture. Honestly, these pictures are really all that you should need to see. If you don't get it by looking at these pictures, you're probably not going to get it. Right? You got Brad Garlinghouse over here on the right. Who's he standing there with? Well, next to him, the head of the fintech office at the Bank of Indonesia. Right? We got the chief of the Advanced Economies and Multilateral Surveillance Issues Division of the IMF, CEO Luxembourg House of Fintech, Christine Lagarde right there in the middle, the Circle Fintech Association of Hong Kong, Global Digital Finance, Chief Executive Americas and Global Head of Securities at SWIFT. You get it. Why is Brad Garlinghouse there? Because they're talking about how Ripple sold unregistered securities, or maybe how they're building out a new global financial infrastructure as the disruptors that are far from the Bitcoins. You also got Jessie Chang right there. At this time, she was the FinTech counsel for the IMF, who used to work at Ripple. And before she worked at both of these places, she worked at the Federal Reserve. And so people say, why are you bullish on XRP? Well, it's because I truly believe that it's part of the new financial infrastructure of the future. Because you don't get in a room like this as a Silicon Valley startup unless you're important, right? Unless you have a role to play in the future, right? All right, I just wanted to address that because honestly, you know, this article right here, it brings me, right? It begs the question, major concern that I do have right here. Like I said, honest question and concern of mine. What happens to Elastos if BTC fails or proof of work consensus fails collectively? Are there enough security measures built in for the project to continue on without issue, or are we totally dependent on Bitcoin miners? Right? I'm letting this play out. I've gotten some pretty good responses so far, but we'll see what people come up with. This is a real concern of mine, right? As I've shown you, Elastos is my number 3 holding as far as crypto, right? It goes XRP, XLM, Elastos. And that's because I love what they've built. They have literally built a serverless internet that completely breaks away from the internet infrastructure that we have today, right? And as I'm going to show you, we need this now more than ever, right? We do. But if we're looking at our new internet infrastructure, serverless, it looks beautiful, perfectly designed, I see one glaring issue, right? The Bitcoin mining and proof of work algorithm, right? Luckily, as Elastos Sash has put in here, there still is the DPoS consensus as well. So unlike most projects that are proof of work, proof of stake, they have one consensus. Elastos has multiple consensus layers built into it. So kind of if one falls off, the other one can take over as support. You know, as he's saying right here, it's being fully integrated now that if all DPoS supernodes were wiped out, ELA will be fully fall back onto BTC miners to create and sign our blocks until supernodes come back online. So if the nodes ever go down, well, that falls on the Bitcoin miners. Saying he wonders if the same can happen the other way around. I would guess so. Hopefully we get a good discussion going. I asked Rong Chin, the founder of Elastos, to chime in. Let's see if he'll jump in and provide some clarity to this question. This is an important question, right? We're talking about the new internet. We need to know that it doesn't have any holes, dramatic holes that would be a centralized area of failure, essentially. Because if you're building out this beautiful decentralized internet, it can't just be dependent on Bitcoin mining. It can't, right? It needs to have other layers built in. Maybe we can get that addressed, right? But this all is perfect with what's going on in the world right now, right? These are the platforms that have banned Trump and his allies. Twitter. What else we got? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Reddit, Twitch. So basically all the major social media platforms have just went ahead and decided that they get to censor the president. Now, this should be an issue for you guys, right? This should actually piss you off, regardless of which side you're on, this and that. What it shows is that these corporate tech giants have gotten so big, they have monopolized basically the world. They own the world at this point. If they can censor the president and mute him, right? No free speech, have no voice, then that shows you that all of these rights and freedoms are gone, right? Because they can just be thrown out with the current internet that we have, right? And imagine, right? Parler is gone for now as Amazon terminates hosting, right? Apple and Google did it as well. So Parler, imagine being the creator of Parler, right? You built this app, supposed to be a free speech app and this and that. Well, not if Amazon Web Services decides so. So they get to just mute you, kick you off, and your company, your app that you put all your work into is just gone because Amazon Web Services decided so, right? Is that free speech? Is that free anything? Or does it show you that these corporate tech giants have gotten so big that they can now control the world? And they do control the world, right? If you've watched the Social Dilemma and stuff, you know that they do. They control your thoughts, right? And this whole scenario, right? Amazon Web Services getting to just shut down Parler and do whatever they want. It shows you that crypto is not decentralized at all. And that's why the Elastos community has said so themselves. We need a new internet before we can be decentralized. Right? Proof of that, right? On AWS, more customers trust, right? Keyword trust, not trustless. Trust AWS for their blockchain and ledger technology workloads than any other cloud vendor. 25% of all Ethereum workloads in the world run on AWS, not decentralized. Enterprise customers for Hyperledger Fabric include Nestle, Sony Music, BMW, the DTCC, right? This is the clearinghouse, as I've told you about, basically the clearinghouse for all assets right now. So they're dependent on Amazon Web Services. So essentially, Amazon Web Services has the president and the global financial system and all these companies and all of crypto by the balls, and they can do whatever they want with it. They control all of it. Amazon Web Services has over 70 plus validated blockchain solutions from partners who provide support to all major blockchain protocols, including Hyperledger, Sawtooth, Corda, DAML, Ethereum, Quorum, Blockstack, right? You get it. So all these cryptos, anything in the Ethereum ecosystem, all this garbage on one centralized blockchain, essentially, can be shut down by Amazon Web Services. And the proof is in this right here, right? If they decided they wanted to, this is where you hit them, right? So this brings to surface exactly why we need Elastos, right? Elastos and carrier in layman's terms. The Elastos carrier is a completely decentralized peer-to-peer network. The carrier network is serverless, provides end-to-end encryption, and uses blockchain-issued DIDs to facilitate authenticated connections. All data transfer between participants in the Elastos ecosystem is conveyed through the carrier network, right? Serverless internet. This is what we need, not something lying on Amazon Web Services. That is not decentralized. Proof, right? We have proof now, what they can do. And I'm sorry, guys, at this point, if the global leaders decided they wanted to do global regulation on Bitcoin mining, they can target that right at the power source or the IP addresses or wherever they wanted. If they agreed upon it globally, that Bitcoin mining must cease, then it will cease, right? Simply put, this is why I think Bitcoin's survival is totally dependent on government approval, right? Because we don't have the centralized power at the moment. That's the easy target, right? All these big miners, right? And that's why I say if every country agreed upon it, not just if one, right? If the US decided it was cutting off Bitcoin mining, it could do so. Right? But that doesn't mean that the rest of the world has to be cut off. It would mean the US is cut off, right? But if they decided on a global level that it was something that needed to go, they can do that. these should all be very real concerns of everybody, right? And I bring all of this up because of the climate change narrative. I've talked about over and over about like 2030, we need to have, everything needs to be on 100% renewable energy sources, and any companies not on board will be basically cut off, right? So this should be a concern of people, a real concern and something to pay attention to. Doesn't mean I'm not invested, right? So besides my crypto holdings, my largest holding out of everything is actually Bitcoin miners, right? Even after my reducing them by half, right? Because the value of them ran up so fast. Like I said, I knew it would outperform Bitcoin. I just didn't expect it to outperform it that quickly. So that's why I cut my holdings in half basically and distributed it into other crypto projects I'm looking at, right? But unlike most people, I'm going to have an unbiased view. I'm going to challenge all the projects that I hold, and I do that nonstop, right? I'm always looking at where's the hole, where's the issue here? Why do I not want to be invested, right? So I hope Elastos can succeed, because we need, obviously, we need serverless internet. Will it? Who knows? I think it definitely needs to be addressed that we need to have some kind of security buffer built into there in the Elastos system, if it isn't already, that protects against the need for the proof of work mining. Right, that should be a plus, right, not a dependence. So adding the hash rate to the network as a security layer should only be beneficial but have no downside, right? We need to build in layers so that that's how it works. So if you are developing on Elastos and you have the solution, let's please get it proposed to the Cyber Republic as an addition to the network, right? I want to wrap this up with a tweet that kind of summarizes everything I'm talking about, right? Watching the cryptos trade, it's exactly like the internet stock bubble, exactly. I think BTC, ETH, a few others will be analogous to those that were built during the dot-com era, survive the bubble bursting and thrive like Amazon, eBay, and Priceline. Many won't. Along the way, many fortunes will be made and lost as we find out who has the stomach to hodl and who doesn't, right? Main point, he says, my advice, learn how to hedge. That quote is exactly why I have layered my portfolio the way I have, right? I invest in Bitcoin, but I also invest in what I believe to be the disruptors that are far from the Bitcoins in Ripple and Stellar, right? Because they don't have this proof of work consensus. They're working with these regulators. They're in the rooms with them. What are they talking about? Probably the new financial infrastructure. So I've hedged along the way. I'm hedging against Bitcoin with Ripple and Stellar. I'm hedging against Ripple with Stellar. All right, I have the equal amount of each one because I don't care who wins, right? I'm investing in my future and my family's future, and I'm making sure that I'm holding one of the winners, right? They might not all win, but all I need, honestly, is one of them to win, and I will make a large sum of money, right? Also, that's why I've invested in Elastos, because if Bitcoin succeeds, I don't see any project that has built a new internet infrastructure even close to what Elastos had. I'm in there. All right, guys. Just want to bring some unbiased perspective to all of this. Need to see the whole space, right? Don't be biased. Don't be tribal, because it could end up costing you money. Hope that was informative. As always, please like and subscribe, share with your friends and family, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.
What is a cashless society? What does it actually mean in a literal or high-level sense?
Money will become like these, relics of a different age, and will only be found in places like this. In other words, hard cash will disappear. It will become electronic, transferred by things like these.
Then Tracy is in Beijing to show us what a nearly cashless society actually looks like. Ben, good morning.
Mobile payment transactions in China reached a cumulative total of 277.4 trillion RMB in 2018, ranking #1 in the world, according to the recently released statistical report on internet development in China. As of June 2019, online payment users in the country reached 633 million. The cashless society is now approaching.
When's the last time you paid with cash? Well, chances are cash is taking a backseat to the plastic in your wallet and smartphone pay apps.
Denver 7's Ryan Luby explains the digital pay revolution and why not everyone is on board.
The Cashless Society, the Cashless Society.
The Cashless Society.
The Cashless Society is now approaching.
The Cashless Society.